of investigation and experimentation. Today, before this scientific forum, I intend to demonstrate the possibility for body imprints of the shroud to be formed in the case in which a lightning, a flash of light, and a blazing, dazzling light had invested the shroud. I hasten to say that with respect to the investigation of the objective examination of the imprints, I tackled with the problems from the perspective of a physician. Therefore, I've always ruled out quick solutions. I have based my investigations on experimental data, therefore data which are reproducible, and I wish to submit my conclusions, my data to the participants to this forum. Having said this, I've always asked myself the following question. Is it possible to obtain the three types of imprints? That is the one of water halo, the blood and body imprints using linen cloths treated with the substances which were used for the burial of Christ. Now, Evangelist John mentions a mixture of myrrh and aloe and other aromatic oils. So I focus my attention on the mixture of aloes and myrrh to discover whether particular properties of such mixture could have had an important role in the formation process, in the formation mechanism of all the three types of imprints. Let me stress all of them, because even though only one could not have been reproduced, we would have followed another path. After unsuccessful attempts with the dusty mixture of aloes and myrrh in the 70s, I managed to reproduce shroud-like imprints of aloes and the blood using aloes and myrrh in solution or water. As a matter of fact, on dried linen cloths, but previously. Can we put off this light, because this light is. Can we put off this light, please? Because it gets my eyes. So as I was saying, these cloths were previously soaked in a water solution. Cloth A, oil, and cloth B of aloes and myrrh. If wet at one border, shroud-like image would form, and these were intensely colored. And here you have a comparison with the halo of the shroud on the cloth C. On the basis of these promising results, I made investigations to reproduce possible blood imprints. As a comparison, I took the blood imprint on the forehead at epsilon form, which was due to the lesion of the frontal after the F crossing. From this imprint and this anatomic and topographical analysis revealed interesting particulars. It was a mold imprint with clear-cut margins, which was impressed with contact on the cloth. It was such an accurate imprint that at the beginning of the lesion it was clear the imprint of the circular blood glob around the
Intento di riprodurre tali caratteristiche
around the bone. I took some linen cloths soaked with aloes and mirror solutions, and I put them over blood globs number 3 with contact times 12, 24 and 30 years and 36 hours. As a result of this, the intensity of epsilon imprint obtained on the cloths was directly proportional to the contact time of cloths with the glob, and that the optimal time to get clear and mold imprints such as those of the Shroud amounted to about 36 hours. Here you have a global vision. On the left side, a blood imprint on a cloth soaked with water solution. Center on the cloth in oil solution. On the right hand side, the original Shroud imprint. Now these experiments, these tests were performed in the underground or the catacombs of my city, Siracusa in Sicily, to simulate the condition of the new Sparca dug out in the rock, a mention of which and this is very important. This is an important element which further bears out the possibility of the genesis of body imprints with sun rays. I will go back to this point. In 1980, I demonstrated that neither X-rays nor laser rays, though with strong concentration, would impress clothes soaked in water solution or oil solution, oily of aloe mirrors, crossing or passing through holes of a shield put on them. And this happened both with wet clothes and with the previously dried clothes, whereas ultraviolet radiations after the first minutes of exposure would impress the cloths, but only or provided they had been previously wet. Considering that ultraviolet rays are only a component of sun rays, I could obtain more significant results directly with sun rays, which would impress also and exclusively wet clothes, and they did so superficially, as you can see in this slide. The imprint forms only in the side, the sunlit or sun-invested side, so only the superficial fibrils, linen fibrils, are sensitized. However, I came to a standstill, facing the impossibility of releasing from the body, or releasing the sunlight from the body, the human body. But after research, after test, some days ago, I managed to obtain the impressive image I'm going to show you, and there was, unfortunately, this is not three-dimensional. Here on I made with steel drills. I placed these photographs on a cloth soaked with aloes and mirror. Now, sun rays through these holes have printed on the cloth imprint of the face with darks and light aspects and this is perfect. This matches with this face of the Shroud perfectly well. the superficial fibres are of a more intense yellow with respect to the background of the cloth. As you can see with this visual parallel, the negative reproduced the positive features or lines of the face of the shroud. Here you have a visual comparison. It is staggering and impressive comparison, far-fetched and taken to the limits of human experimentation. At this point, I like to highlight a detail which was discovered by John Heller in 1983. Under the blood imprints, there is no body imprints. That is, blood was impressed before the images of the body, and its presence prevented the body image formation from occurring. As I said earlier, cloths become sensitized when sun rays cross the little holes of a shield. In this case, the shield has an epsilon form, is epsilon shaped. A blood drop on the holes. So sunlight, since it cannot go through this due to the presence of blood globs, the light does not sensitize the underlying cloth, as we can see in these two images. Also, a fabric strip prevents sunlight from passing through. This connection, it is well known that the shroud shows a vacuum of imprint between the ape and the forehead. Therefore, if the man of the shroud had that sudarium, which, as Evangelist John reports, it is clear that the imprint between the forehead and the ape, which is missing in the central part of the shroud, could not be formed due to this fabric shield or bandage, chin bandage. This prevented, as we can see in this slide. Dear participants and friends, from what I've said so far, on clothes soaked with aloes and myrrh, it is possible to reproduce the three types of imprints visible on the shroud, and naturally. And let me stress the word naturally, because they have been reproduced experimentally. In particular, with these investigations, we came to discover that the cloths so soaked behave like a photographic film. In other words, cloths are sensitive to the sunlight, which prints a negative image on them. Therefore, if from the body wrapped up in the shroud, which is still wet, and after 36 hours the soaked cloths, and considering the moist environment of the catacombs are still wet, so if from the body a dazzling flash of light, such as the one of the sun, would have hit the cloth, the imprints could have been pressed, those which are visible on the Shroud of Turin. The body of the shroud is the body of Christ, or better to say, the flash of light which allegedly would hit the cloth stemmed from the body that it wrapped. These are all questions, by the way. So is it the body of Christ, or is it any other body? There are two events which can be referred to this to the latter question. In the St. Paul on Damascus road was dazzled by a flash of light, and in Matthew's Gospel there is another relevant event. On a high mountain, Jesus transformed himself before Peter, John, James, and Matthew say his face clear like the sun, and his clothes became candid like the light. We might say that there are individuals with paranormal powers, and at all times, including Middle Ages, there was people with such a dazzling phenomenon. However, these phenomena are possible only when the individual lives, is living individual, and not after death. The man of the shroud is a man who is a dead man, so the wound to the chest is it demonstrates. And how is it possible for any mortal to have such a faculty, such a power after life? This is the question I'd like to raise, and I just want to leave you with this question. And at the same time, I invite you, all of you, to look at this face from which a moving beauty, a mysterious serenity stem, and there is also a human. It is also fascinating from a human point of view. Thank you.